Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to our channel Across the Pitch. So, I'm wearing the South African rugby jersey, the Springboks, today. But no, we are not talking about rugby, we are talking about football. Football. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. This Kani Chikumeka issue, it's actually getting to a point where it's now about arm twisting and fights and pushbacks and this and that. And I'm not sure why we are becoming like, Chelsea's becoming like so desperate to move him over to Borussia Dortmund. If you look at this, right, they are almost there to agree on the contract. And since I think 2 months ago, Chelsea has been very clear that Kenny Chukwuemeka will be sold and will only be sold not on loan, right? And Dortmund has realized that Chelsea are so adamant and they are very clear on what they want. Now they are coming back and put a condition that no, we want an initial loan, right? And then in that loan deal, you can then put in an obligation to buy, right? On condition that he plays certain games. Guys, people are cruel out there, right? There are very few people that are honest in what they do. What kind of an obligation is that? Because what will then happen is that you then put in 20 games or 25 games, right? And then you then say, if he plays 25 games, then we will buy him, right? Next season, and then we'll buy him, we'll give him a contract for 5 years, whatever it is, right? But what will then happen is that they can even ask him to play 20 games or 24 games. Then they'll say, Chelsea, you can have your player back. Thank you very much. What happens? Remember, the issue of the contract that he has with Chelsea, the years are reducing. And then the lesser the years of his current contract with Chelsea, the lesser also the bargaining power that Chelsea will have on the player. Because, for instance, if he's going to be left with maybe 2 years next season, what happens, right? Then Chelsea will then start scrambling around to look for suitors and so forth. I think Borussia Dortmund are trying to be clever, and I still believe that they as much as they want the player, but I don't think they've got the money to buy outright. But Chelsea has been very clear. I think they've reduced his fees um, to about 25 million euros, if I'm not mistaken, or 25 million pounds, if something like that. Right. So I'm not happy with this, and I feel if I was Chelsea, I could have said, you know what, let's push for the LB Leipzig deal. I think Leipzig would be better off, because what will then happen is that they way off the situation where they will then say, okay, we'll give you Xavi at probably 60 million, and then they can come and say we'll give you 20 or 25 million for Chukwuemeka. That will make sense, unless if the player doesn't want to go there. But remember, these two teams play in the Bundesliga together. They are in Germany together, and I think even Leipzig themselves, they were in the Champions League a season or two ago. You know, um, but the only challenge with Leipzig is that they are a selling club. You see, they are a selling club. They whoever you look, they sell players. That's the thing that is given. They don't have the ambition like any other clubs, like your Bayern Munich, even your Dortmund or The big clubs, they don't. So they just sell players. So that maybe that's why he feels that he doesn't really want to go there, because he wants to play at the top level, right? So yeah, let's see what happens. I don't know what you think about the Chukwumeka issue. You can comment. I believe that they are trying to be clever in this, to put in an obligation like that. And yeah. So let's move into the next story. The next story is from Fulham, right? Fulham are still interested in Sterling, right? I'm thinking that at the moment, Fulham is the only team or the only club that has shown interest in Sterling. Now, in this situation, Chelsea are actually pushed against the walls. Why am I saying that? Is that one, Sterling's wages are too high, very, very high. And if I'm not mistaken, he's actually the highest or second highest paid player at Chelsea, which means he should be around 300 to 350,000 pounds a week. Now, if that is the case, what would you do? One, you don't like the player anymore, you don't want the player anymore. And two, the player is not marketable at all. Nobody wants him, right? Um, so if Fulham comes and say, we want the player, we'll pay, you will take 20 million. Obviously, if he goes to Fulham, he's going to lower his wages demands, because Fulham is not a rich club. You know, they are just a club that they are not a rich club. He can even, I don't think they'll even give him 200 or 150. So it depends how he will then react to that. But for Chelsea, I think they will accept anything they get, because if you are going to calculate how much he's in terms of wages for the whole season that Chelsea is going to pay him, again, it's just saying, give us 15 million. 15 million, we made that was a blunder, or it's a loss. Let him go. Remember, we bought this guy 50 million from Manchester City about three seasons ago. So yeah. So let's see what happens with this Fulham issue. And the problem also is that we were very lucky that Arsenal took him for loan last season. So I'm not sure if we are going to get another club in top four who will be able to pay probably half, or at least the big chunk of his what to call it, his wages. I don't think there is any team in the top four. Then anyone outside the top four, they won't afford him. That's the thing. They won't afford those wages. So unless if somebody, a miracle comes from Saudi, that could be better. But let's see. It's something to look out to. And please, let's have your comments on this issue. Now, I think this is now very clear. And we have been, probably it was a dream for every Chelsea player to get a goalkeeper. But I think Chelsea have been very clear. I think the picture was on the wall there, that they are not going to buy another keeper, and these two guys are going to be our number one and number two. Sanchez played the truth. You know what? As much as I wanted a keeper, or a first class keeper, or a top class keeper, I would want to say that 5 games to the run out to the league, as well as the Club World Cup, he played very well. He did very well. I think you could think that he's actually up there with the top goalkeepers, right? But I'm still not convinced that he is the right person for us. I'm not. Because there is going to be a lot of games, and I think we still need a goalkeeper. But look at this. They've just said that they are not going to buy a keeper. They are happy with the keepers they have, the goalkeepers they have. So look, guys, we have done so well in the market, and I think we should move on to that. From that, right? We should move on, and then let's see what happens. If he's not performing well, we can still go in January and buy a goalkeeper. But for now, I think let's just move on. Let's concentrate on the attacking. I think Enzo Maresca was very clear last season and probably during this window to say, look, can you imagine that if we had managed to beat all those teams with a low block, right? Um, remember, think we drew about 4 or 5 games that with teams the low block, we could have even finished in number two. We could have there been the runner up of from for the league. So I think he's more worried about the attacking end of um of the team rather than the goalkeeping position. So let's see what happens. What's your comment on the goalkeeper issue? And then the third story that I wanted to talk, I think the fourth story that I wanted to talk about is our wonder kid. Welcome to Chelsea, Estavo. There's a high expectation from Estavo Williams, and I think it could be too much for him, but I think he will manage it. The expectation is that we got the next Neymar. We've got the best wonder kid in the world at the moment. The good thing is that he's not going to be thrown there and and expect miracles from him, right? I think Maresca will gradually introduce him. There is Pedro Neto there on the right wing, and he was doing very well. I think for me, Pedro Neto was actually the player of the Club World Cup, right? So obviously he will be played here and there. Maybe for the first 10 games, he will be played 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then next he will then be maybe in FA Cups, in small cups, he will then play the full games and whatever until you get gelled to what to the big leagues. So yeah, welcome to Chelsea, and you can actually see and understand his big expectation, right? He said that in his actually first interview for Chelsea, said that, look, I want to win the league and I want to win the Champions League with Chelsea. You know, if a player's got those kind of ambitions at 15, right? He wants to be the best player in the world, right? So you could see that this is what I want. This is what Chelsea wanted. This is, they will help him to be the best in the world, right? And look what's happening as well. Cole Palmer also want to be the best in the world, right? If Cole Palmer plays exactly the way he played in the Club World Cup final, just for the first half of the season, right? He will be the best player in the world. He will win the Ballon d'Or. So we have got the best players that we have now. All what we need to make sure is to make sure that they play together, they understand each other, they fight for each other, right? And we should be able to be. It's either for me. I said Liverpool is, I think, in terms of names, in terms of quality, and all those kind of things, Liverpool are still above us, but we should be able to compete with them, right? For instance, remember what we did uh, with PSG, right? We went in there as underdogs, right? And we compete and we won the match, right? So that is exactly what we something. So Arsenal, Liverpool, City, we should be able to compete with these teams to an extent that it's either we win, we draw. If we lose, we lose, but we should be able to compete. Not what we were thinking about a season or two ago where we say, okay, we are going there. If we lose 2-0, it will be fine, right? Or if we have to avoid 4 goals or those kind of things. But now it's compete. We compete. We fight for the badge, right? Right. Then the other thing that I wanted to speak about is the issue of Nico Jackson. So yeah, it's every day, right? Nicholas Jackson, it's an everyday issue, it's an everyday discussion. He's If you are to look at the what should I say? Social medias for the past month, I think Nico Jackson's name is always on the social media on a daily basis, right? I think he's one of those highest names that has been said or reported by reporters on a daily basis. So, you know what? The only thing that I wanted to say about Nico Jackson is that I just wish him well, right? I don't want him to leave Chelsea. I think that Chelsea should just go into the season with three strikers. I think Nico Jason will fight for his jersey. He will fight for starting position. But if 80 million comes, I think Chelsea will take. If they take 80 million, I would then suggest that they go and buy an 18-year-old striker or 19-year-old striker. That would then be a third choice, so that he would then come here and there and play, right? You can get that maybe for a 30 million euros or whatever it is. So that, yeah, that's my thinking, because my thinking is that we still need three strikers. So let's see what happens with Nico Jackson. There is nothing much to say. I know Newcastle, they still have him as someone they might be interested in. So let's see what happens. Can someone tell me what's so special about Sesko? I'm not. To be honest with you, I've been doing a research for this guy, and I'm not understanding why he's so special to such an extent that there's going to be a bidding war. There is going to be this back and forth thing, and there is going to be a situation where a player has got the power to dominate the big teams like your Manchester United, your Newcastles of this world, right? Remember, s- initially there was a rumor that he wanted to go to Arsenal, right? He was supposed to go to Arsenal. Secondly, he was supposed to go to. There was a rumor of Chelsea in the beginning, but I think Chelsea just felt like, you know what, we are fine. Then Liverpool at a certain time, and then Liverpool went for Eketike, and then Newcastle. I think the challenge with Newcastle is that they wasted time, right? Wanted Eketike at first, and then because there was too much rumor that he was going to Arsenal. So once Eketike went to Liverpool, and then Newcastle came so hard. Now, I don't think this player is even worth 90 million. No, because now there is an issue here. People are saying that, look, if Sesko is coming to Chelsea to Newcastle at 90 million, right? 90 million euros and so whatever it is. Um, he has never played in the Premiership before, right? You have got a Nicholas Jackson here who has played in the Premiership for 2 seasons. And in this 2 seasons, he has actually had double figures. I think it's 15 goals plus all competitions, right? So why would you risk and get someone from another league who you are not even sure is going to perform in the conditions in England? And then you go and pay 90 million while you are leaving somebody who has shown that he can actually score goals. As much as he has got more goals that is uh, losing or not scoring or whatever it is. But that is it. Nicholas Jackson is 23, 24. He still needs to learn. We remember Drogba came to Chelsea at 24, right? So you still need to learn to score goals, to do things, and all those kind of things. Probably if he works with Eddie Howe, he'll be able to score goals, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure what's so special about Sesko, but let's wait and see. If they want to pay 100 million, let them pay 100 million. Because this is the thing, there is a bidding war now. Newcastle sent a bid 2 days ago. Yesterday, Manchester United sent a bid. So I don't know. I don't know. So it's good for Leipzig. So they are making money. Ching ching. So let's see what happens. I'll come back again in the afternoon and with more news. Hopefully, there is going to be a movement in the market. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.